Hey K2 and Everest. Today I'm going to give you a quick overview on what you need to accomplish today while you are in science class. So today you are responsible for creating your slide in your presentation for your final product. Remember that this was the slideshow that was shared with you last week by one of your teammates. You're going to have your slides ready to go today or by next class for sure for your revisions. Today we are going to do a little bit of practice, and I've already bopped into your slides as well to see who's accomplished them today because they were due today. You just might be making revisions this afternoon. You are also going to make sure that all of your labels are included on your model, your boxes, and your poster. So facilitators today, it is your job to record all of your team members' roles into our document for Everest or K2, depending on your class. You are getting a copy, or should have already grabbed a copy of a pink checklist from the sub today. It is very important. Everyone will be utilizing this pink checklist, and you will be turning it in to me when you turn in your boxes. Today, facilitators, you were in charge of items 1 through 3 on this pink checklist that you got today. You're going to mark them off as you have them, and if you're missing them, you're going to add those items in today. And then once everybody in the whole group has done their part of the checklist, once you guys think you're all done, facilitators, it's going to be your job to look it over, make sure you're not missing any parts, and make sure you have the bottom criteria as well. So facilitators, you are entering in your group roles. The document looks similar to this. Here is the checklist you guys are all utilizing. You should have the pink copy from the sub. Facilitators, you're in charge of making a clear label stating where your biosphere is located, a clear label showing that geographical feature in your biosphere, like your mountain or your volcano, whatnot, and then a description label of how that geological feature was created. So was it a convergent boundary, a divergent, subduction zone? Explain that. Hawaii is not on a plate boundary, so how did those volcanoes form? Make sure that you're looking back, I believe, at checkpoint 2, where we addressed that. And then the last bit of criteria, make sure it's realistic and accurate, neat, colorful, detailed, and organized. Materials manager, you're grabbing any scissors, markers, colored pencils, rulers, anything like that from my white bins in the very back. You're also responsible for making sure those make it back to the bin at the end of the hour. Boxes are already down on the countertop for you guys to grab. Just be very careful as you're grabbing. Don't bump anybody's, make sure you're giving everybody space so that they can grab theirs. And then you're utilizing the same pink checklist. You're in charge of items 4 through 5 in your checklist, and you're going to mark them off as you go through your box and add anything if you are missing it. So gather your supplies, make sure you have your box, and then you're in charge of a clear label of 3 natural resources found in your biosphere. Remember that renewable resources, you can label those when you're creating those labels. That would be like sunlight, water, trees, things like that. Non-renewable resources when you're creating your labels would be like coal, oil, things like that. You also need clear labels for all non-living things in your ecosystem. So sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, oxygen are all great non-living things that are in your ecosystem that you'd want to label. And then just make sure you are cleaning up at the end and returning those like scissors, glue, things like that back to the white bins. Harmonizer, you are in charge of opening checkpoint 8 and filling out the beginning of class entry number 4. Utilize the checklist. You're in charge of creating the items 6 and 7 in your pink checklist that your group is working from. Mark them off and add any of those missing items if needed. And then once your group has done the final look through, facilitators going through and making sure everybody's done their part on that checklist, you're going to turn your box into my front countertop. I moved one of the things that were in the middle of my room. I moved it to the front of the room, so please just put them right there. Everest, if you're staying in to work for lunch, I will be back at lunch. Same thing, K2. But Everest, I will be back at lunch, so you can leave your boxes just on your table so that you can continue working on them at lunch, but we'll make a pause during cleanup time so that you have time to practice your PV legs for your slideshow. So make sure, even if you haven't cleaned up everything because you're planning on working on it at lunch, make sure you are taking the time to practice your slideshow when we have that time. Here is the entry number 4 on checkpoint 8. This is what you're in charge of. Here's a sample of what I've done in the past. And then here is what you're in charge of on your pink checklist. Clear labels for all the living things in your ecosystem. That includes plants and animals. That should be the things that were also included on your food web that you created. And then arrows to show how the carbon cycle works, the nitrogen cycle, and the water cycle. And I suggest using different colored arrows. So like maybe the carbon cycle, you're using red arrows, nitrogen cycle, you're using orange arrows, and water cycle, you're using blue arrows, so that we can see those 3 cycles and how they work. Recorders, last but not least, you are utilizing the checklist. You're going to actually check in on the poster. I am still missing posters from some of your groups, and this is part of your modeling grade when you present next class. So you're going to check in your poster, make sure you have number 8 and then those subcategories in your checklist, mark them off and add any if needed. And then you're also in charge of doing checkpoint 8, completing the end of class section, entry number 4. So on your poster, make sure that all of these different interactions are labeled. If they're hanging on the wall, they should have these already, but mutualism, commensalism, predator-prey, parasitism, and decomposer should be on your poster. This is a screenshot of checkpoint 8, entry number 4, end of class to fill out, and then a sample of kind of what that would look like for you. And then this is the modeling rubric that I am using to give you a grade. Remember to make sure your model is accurate or contains your labels and descriptions and identifies those parts. You're utilizing the pink checklist you just picked up from the sub. That's how you're going to get to these. Make sure that you have all of your components included, right? You're going to use that pink checklist that you were given.